Nothing port in closed session. And let's do the flag salute. Please stand. Where we were. Okay, and this now is the superintendent's report.
Well, the kids are back and there's tons of excitement now that we have kids and staff. This is what we're all about. So I'm going to kick off with the superintendent's award, and to do that I'd like to invite Julie Kissel up to the podium.
Good evening and thank you. Tonight we'd like to present the Superintendent's Award to our local Cal Water agency. And we have a representative here tonight, Jason Hammond from Cal Water. And the reason why we want to recognize them is because they have really gone beyond belief for us this summer. Jumping on our projects, reviewing our plans, pushing them through design for us, pushing them through the legal department for the easements, and sending their guys out to install. Even though we really didn't have all our ducks in a row yet, they knew that we had to get water going for our schools. And we are enormously grateful to have a partner like Cal Water in our community. And we want to give a big thank you to Jason Hammond from Cal Water.
You may need your kids to help with all the swag. Here's a Chico Unified apple as an appreciation, a mug for all that coffee you need to keep that water coming on, and a certificate of appreciation. Thank you. We're going to get our picture very quickly.
Okay, I just wanted to say that, Jason, don't go anywhere. I just wanted to say that when we did the tour of Marigold, it was, at the end, it was incredibly hot outside. And I'm like, well, who's making those guys work in this heat this late? And it was Cal Water, doing a wonderful job at Marigold. Thank you.
So as we are only on day 5, we will not have student reports or student activities at this point, but that will resume in September once the teachers and the kids have a chance to get settled. We did open up our school year with a staff development activity in our new Chico High School Stadium. It was really exciting to have people come in, see it, and even a lot of our own staff had yet to see it. So it's nice to be able to showcase something, and 100 years in the making for Chico High. This is the first time in over 100 years they have had their own stadium. Well, first time ever they've had their own stadium. So I wanted to give Mr. Bultman the opportunity to talk a little bit about the stadium, the use that it's getting, and really what our board policy says in terms of expected use by the community.
So as Kelly mentioned, we opened up the Chico High School Stadium. We've already used it for different Chico Unified School District programs, for school athletic teams, and community organizations. We held our Teachers Welcome Back, as Kelly mentioned. Butte College held its black and gold scrimmage at the site, and it was a nice event there. And then youth football actually held their regional jamboree. A lot of people attended that event as well. So really thousands of people have already been through that facility. We did want the board to be aware we have had and been contacted by a few members of the community in Mansion Park regarding some concerns on noise, and we have reached out to them a number of times. So just so the board's aware, on August 1st, we did hold a meeting at Chico Library to talk about the use because this is going to be a busy year. The following week, we did noise testing in the Mansion Park area to make sure that we weren't over any levels that the city kind of imposes generally. We also sent an email out, or did receive an email on the 18th, the day of the junior football jamboree. Some concern about noise there as well. We did make some adjustments to the sound to try and offset that on the south end because we believe some of the sound is bouncing off the buildings at Chico State. And then on the Monday that we got back, we actually adjusted the speakers on the south end to kind of point more inward towards the field, and we adjusted the standard volume as well in that space. So we are making an attempt to try and minimize the impact of the noise and the sound. I would also say, and just remind the board, that 2018-19 will be the busiest year for the Chico High School Stadium. The reality is, with Pleasant Valley's stadium under construction, all games are being played at Chico High School. So not only are all the home games for both Chico High and Pleasant Valley being played at Chico High School, but then all of the youth football programs as well, instead of being split between the two facilities, are being played at Chico High. We want to remind the public that this Friday, is going to be really an extra busy and crowded around Chico State, because not only do we have Chico High playing its first home game at its new stadium, but we have Pleasant Valley High School that will be playing at Chico State for their first game of the season, and we have the students who are arriving for the start of the Chico State school year. So, absolutely, we do want to remind people, carpool, walk, take a bike if you can. Definitely come to the game, but just be mindful and be safe in those areas, because it's going to be very crowded in that space. And then lastly, well, we do want to also remind people to avoid parking in the Mansion Park community. Obey those laws, because there are people that are living in those spaces, so we want to put that information out. And lastly, we want to just acknowledge the Chico community and the taxpayers of our community that through their support of Measure E and Measure K, we're really building, I think, great facilities, not only for our students, but for the community at large. So thank you, Chico taxpayers.
I would just like to add, I was there with my 5-year-old, and so the kids that were playing were very young at the Jamboree, and I think it went up to, I don't know, 11 or 12. Kelly was there as sheriff's deputy. Didn't have her horse, though, but and there were teams from all over, because the scrimmages were extremely short. I mean, they were just, so there was a constant flow, but a lot of people very excited about the facility and about their ability to access it. And so it was a celebratory Saturday.
Okay, very good. So, any other announcements? Yes.
Mr. President, Mr. Baltimore, when you started out, you said you were going to read the policy on use of facilities.
Yes. The very first sentence under Board Policy 1330 regarding use of facilities, I'll just read that because I think it is a reminder of kind of the focus and the emphasis that we put into building this facility. But ultimately, it says the governing board believes that school facilities and grounds are a community resource which should be used to foster community involvement. So we believe that's what's happening here. We're excited about the opportunity, and again, we want to thank Chico for its support.
Okay, any other announcements? I see none. Items from the floor. Is anybody here with something that is not on our agenda that we cannot comment on, but we can listen to you? I see none. And negotiation update.
We have not started negotiations, but we have our first negotiation session planned with CUTA on September 13th. And we have been in contact with CSEA. We're working on getting some first dates to start up as soon as they meet with their team and come back with some possible dates. So by this time next month, we should be going full blast on negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Consent calendar.
I have nothing to pull.
What do you have?
Hang on. No, it's not on.
Okay, anybody else on consent calendar? Then we could take a motion on
I
this.
move that we approve the consent calendar.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? Do we have any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Griffin, aye.
Hovey, aye.
Lustal, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Okay, consent agenda is done. We will now move to items, discussion action calendar, items 10 on our agenda. And we are on 10.1.1. Joanne.
So as Joanne's coming up, we wanted to give the board just an update on how the first 5 days of school went, what our enrollment looks like, some of the activities that took place. So Joanne and the Ed Services team will be doing just that.
Yep, and they're on their way up. Oh, they're going to stand back there. Okay. I'll call them up in a moment. Do we have our slideshow? Perfect. Oh. Just do the arrow. Oh, I see it. It's up there. Well, yeah, so how do I just start it, and will it just rotate? Thank you. Okay. Hey, the first 5 days of school and 170, what, 5 to go? It's been amazing. I know, I'm thinking, I can get up here and add or subtract. It's been amazingly great. And if the rest of the year goes this way, we will be so blessed, and it's going to be so great because the people behind me have nothing but great things to say about the things that they've seen. This is a slideshow that we emailed the principals, and they just sent little snippets of what's happening at their school, so you can kind of watch that while we're talking to you.
That was my little preview.
Although the students finished the year on June 7th, many teachers and students participated in a variety of offerings over the summer. The new teachers attended teacher training on June 12th and 13th, plus August 10th, and they covered a wide variety of topics. Tim, Jay, Ted, they can give you a little snippets of all the different things that they covered over those 3 days. ELD strategies were covered by our ELD coaches with the new teachers, and there's other teachers in our district that go to brush up on skills because the ELD strategies are also great for English, just English classrooms. It was July 23rd and 24th, and then several of those rolled into an early back situation at Chapman that happened in August. About 50 kids came and about 15 teachers went, and the purpose of the early back is giving the teachers or the students more ELD strategies, but letting those teachers practice with the coaches there. And you know, that's Ted's brainchild, and that has, and he can elaborate more on this, but that has really helped our teachers with our ELD students and getting them redesignated. On August 14th, the district-wide staff development and welcome back meeting took place at Chico High School, starting on the football field. Many thanks to the Chico High Choir and Band led by Ruben Morales and Janice Coons for the magnificent display that verified that music is definitely alive and well in Chico Unified School District. Over 750 teachers and administrators were in attendance, and you'll hear more about the offerings that we had there from Ted and Jay, but also we're in that triad project with the Chico State, and it's the Science Next Generation Science Standards. And that project, teachers and student teachers and content specialists develop Next Generation Science Standard units. They go on a website. Christy Bankson, along with Ted, came up with the idea that those kits would choose a grade level kit, and he's going to tell you more about the staff development about that. But during the after school summer program, they use those science standard kits also for kids that were in the after school programs, which I think we're really gaining a lot from that grant. It's been fantastic. Including counselors, after school coordinators, Title I preschool and special education teachers, we have 52 new teachers to our district. And as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, we have 12,330 students sitting in our TK classrooms with 37 students who have not yet shown up, and it's not verified where they are or if they will show up. With that, I will turn it over to Jay and Ted.
Okay, sure. So as Joanne shared, we did a very extensive ELD training kind of right before school started. It's been fun. I think that's one of the big pushes we've had is the coaching, getting our ELD redesignation rate up in the 25% range with it. So it went very well again. 50 kids, 4 hours a day of ELD instruction with coaching going on for the teachers, lovely. Like Joanne said, the first day, August 14th, the elementary version of it was we had a mandatory session by grade level all around NGSS science standards. So with the work of the Triad grant, we put together a unit with a kit. So it's like a user-friendly first grade, here's a unit that is aligned to NGSS standards, working with Chico State, Al Schodeman, going through it and making sure everything's lined up to the standard in that particular area. So each school is getting a kit to their site that they had a chance to walk through with the teachers that created it, we're the facilitators at that day back there with it also. So a lot of compliments about that. Tim just pushed out the survey to kind of start getting feedback today from staff about it. I think the first 30 responses, about 80% were positive. I'm kind of looking at Tim. So once again, we're up in that 80% threshold just so far with it going back. So teachers seem to find good value with those kinds of things. Other elementary first day things back. If you haven't seen it yet, Marigold looks phenomenal. The rooms that are done, I mean, it looks phenomenal. At first, I drove by a couple weeks ago and looked. The siding looks just great. The flooring in the kindergarten classes is great. So the staff there did a bang-up job. They didn't get their keys until Monday, and they rolled into school on Thursday with families. So Julie Kissel did a phenomenal job getting everything ready with her construction crew. But the school looks beautiful. Families are very happy. Biggest issue for them was traffic flow, and they had traffic kind of going. They had the parking lots open, those kinds of things. So happy opening there. If you haven't seen it also, Neil Dow is full-blown underway with construction. It's like a big horseshoe kind of going on around the school with the construction kinds of things. And Shasta looks like it's right on track also. And Mr. Baynard is happy and kind of reporting that things are on track to be done with some of those rooms coming up in the next couple months also. I think what else were we should, enrollment, as Joanne said, we are really nicely, pleasantly, plumply full in elementary right now. We're actually having to add a TK class tomorrow because we had too many TK registrations. We couldn't house them all. So we're going to open up additional TK classroom tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We had about a 3-day notice to get a teacher hired, and Heather Cifuentes did a great job getting the room ready and kind of moving ahead with those kinds of things. It's going to be at Parkview. We had an open space there, and we were able to put it in and make it go right out of the chute kind of thing. We actually had several Form 11s that wanted to come to Chico for TK specifically, so we were able to bring in some of those folks from out of the area that wanted to come also. So in the elementary world, we are feeling good right now and feeling like things are nicely on track. I'll let Jay share a little about secondary.
Okay, on secondary, on the August 14th Professional Development Day, our first session was mostly Google Classroom, and I'll have John Vincent kind of talk about why we made a concerted effort to get different levels of Google Classroom so the teachers could choose if they were beginning, intermediate, or advanced to enhance their knowledge on Google Classroom. We also had our keynote speaker do 2 different sessions, a first session and a second session on different belief systems. As you know, he was a Olympic and Pan Am athlete, so he met with coaches and PE teachers to give them a session on that. Second session, again, they got to choose from a different variety. What amazing to me, I was standing out there between the 2 sessions, and we were getting ready to start the second session, and I could see a bunch of teachers coming out of one of the classrooms at Chico High, and there must have been over 100, and they had to go into the library because so many people wanted to be part of that session, and that was the mindfulness session, which we had a really positive feedback on, and people are wanting more of that, which is amazing because, again, it serves well what our teachers and how they can de-stress and how they can also go into the classrooms with that with their students. So we will continue to give those professional development. We also gave Go Guardian. That's how teachers can overwatch the Chromebooks in their classrooms, and it shows what the teachers or the students are on in their Chromebooks if they're on their things. So they're getting training on how to use a Go Guardian. It's more of our teacher security for the Chromebooks inside the classroom. So that was well received also. And another one that was a packed house was our transgender professional development we had also. So those were some positive ones that we had. The people said that they would like to have continued training. Opening day, I don't have a lot of new construction like we want to talk about with Marigold, but we had some new things going on. So I was at Chico High to see how that new principal was doing, Mr. Doug Williams, and he looked great and spiffy, and I think he already left, but he did a wonderful job welcoming students out there. So they also have a new assistant principal, Brandon Kessler, who was out there, and he's easy to spot also out there. They did a wonderful job. The new day, PV had a new little schedule for their students, so they have more breakout sessions with their classrooms, so did a wonderful job. Also, I want to talk about the SROs. They were out mingling with students, talking with students, being very visible that first day to make it a more of a positive transition. Okay, we're here, but we're here to develop relationships with you. And I think they've done also a wonderful job in the media about telling about what they want to do and what they're doing for our campuses. So those are great. And then to continue just with our link crews, they've done a wonderful job with our freshmen coming in, and also our web crews. Those are where everyone belongs, where our 8th graders work with our 6th graders. I think it's made it a great transition for those kids, and our students and our teachers are getting so much better at what information they want those 6th graders to feel more comfortable coming in. So I thought that was a great way for our year to start. We had a very good transition with our sixth graders too this year. So I'm going to hand it off to John Vincent. He's going to talk about some more exciting news we had in our secondary.
Good evening. So thank you for having us here tonight. As Jay was mentioning, we did offer two different types of Google Classroom. So we offered a basic class and then one that's more advanced. So that way the teachers who have had a lot of experience with that program can get to know it even more and get more advanced features. The Go Guardian training was fantastic because it allows our teachers to be able to see all the Chromebooks, what they're doing right now, their kids, as well as yesterday or the day before, and really going and close tabs when kids are in the wrong place. There's just a lot of power that our teachers have then in their classrooms using that. I also want to talk about the number of Chromebooks that we've been deploying. So over the last 2 weeks, we deployed Chromebooks to our 6th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We deployed 3,800 over the last 2 weeks, and we now have 6,200 in the hands of kids, one-to-one, that they're taking those home. It's been a really great program so far. We are working to make it so that we have Chromebooks available for kids when they come in, the new ones coming in as the school year goes along. So they're always available in the library for kids to check out. Any questions before I step down? Yes.
Thank you, John. I had a student who has the Chromebook, and on my parent portal alert, I got a thing that was telling me what Google things my student was trying to access.
Yes.
Am I imagining things, or is that what I actually got?
So that's actually a program called Security. And
Yes.
So what it does, does two things. It is the filter that we use when kids are not in the school district. So when they're off grounds, school grounds, it still filters the internet for them. And then it sends all of our parents a report, and you can then log in as a parent, see all the things that your child has been doing. You can go in and block websites. If you don't want them going to this website, you can block them in that security portal, so they can no longer go there.
I need instruction on how to do that.
You bet, we can help with that. And something I want to mention too is I wanted to give a big kudos to our crew, our staff, especially our computer techs who worked really hard. Haley, who's here? They did fantastic work on this project. They put a lot of time in, and they made it look easy when they were at the packet pickups and they were at the rollouts here at the junior highs. It just because of all the work they did in the background, and for the school sites too, who really were there to help us as well. So thank you.
I'm not sure who. So my own one question is this going to be available on the website so parents can see your little video? Yeah, because I know we don't know which parents gave permission or whatever, but some of them would want to see their kid. But the other thing was what I ran into personally, and Ted saved me, but I heard it from a number of parents, was the difficulty they had in using this new system and locating their kids' teacher, classroom. So I think I would say the average was that the parents were more anxious than the kids about this, but it was really delayed in terms of when they found out.
And Kathy, you're talking about the registration for parents through Parent Portal to get access to their class placements.
Right, to find out who was their teacher's kid,
Yeah.
I mean, who was their kid's teacher, where were they supposed to be?
I think we debriefed for about a half hour at elementary principals meeting this morning and have about 6 or 8 things we're intentionally going to do different next year. I think the biggest, talking with Tim, was Aries was having a glitch within its own system, and I think that caused about, like when parents were clicking on trying to approve it, and I actually was watching Erica do it in the office, trying to approve and move on to the next page, it wasn't letting them.
Right.
So I think that's where about 80 to 90% of the frustration was, legitimate frustration was happening. But I think there's some things we are going to do different. I'll let Tim share some of those things too. Some little things we can do to help facilitate it.
Yeah, number one, we've contacted Aries about that issue. We've also, like Ted said, debriefed, and I've visited a handful of offices as well to debrief personally with office staff. Some things that we'll do differently next year is post documents earlier, post less documents. Right, we'll leave the window for re-registration open longer. This was a really heavy lift for our office staff.
Yeah.
When following this year, essentially what we'll be doing is enrolling and registering from the beginning stages of registering from Paraportal, our incoming kindergartners and a handful of students that come from out of district. This was a really heavy lift. It was a great effort on behalf of attendance clerks, office managers, targeted case managers to get the word out and get parents aware of how to register for a portal account and how to do that. We've noticed some training needs as well in our debrief, including, in some cases, we need help parents set up emails. We need to better train our targeted case managers closer to the date that they're going to be seeing parents. So there's definitely room for improvement. This was a huge step for us. We needed to do this for a variety of reasons. The biggest being is we need parents to give us updated contact info, emergency contact info. We've had an issue in the past of, a phone number changes and we go to make an all call for an emergency or non-emergency and it bounces back. So this is an effort that we started last spring, and in fact some elementary schools started a couple years ago doing this.
I think the other aspect of that was then apparently the connection to food dining requests. And so, the information was, well, go tell your 5-year-old on the first day of kindergarten, they're going to ask for a hot lunch. We don't know what the kid said, so we don't know what he ate either. But yeah, so it's just that kind of thing. But generally, I mean, the kids and the parents I heard from, once they got in the classroom, they were pretty pleased.
All right, I'm just going to give a quick Oak Bridge update. As you recall, our goal this year based on our budget was to have at least 25 ADA in Oak Bridge to start on our way. Well, I can report that as of right before I came down here, we have 29 students enrolled at Oak Bridge.
Wow, very good.
20 of them are full-time with Oak Bridge. 3 of them are mostly close to full-time with Oak Bridge, maybe 1 or 2 classes at one of our other campuses. And then the rest are some combination. We've also gotten 1 student to move from medically necessary instruction over to Oak Bridge, and we're working on some others. One of our goals, of course, in Oak Bridge was to move elementary independent study in there so it would be more visible. And at the end of the year last year in our elementary independent study program, we had 4 kids, and as of today we have 7. So we're starting to build up that program as well. As far as the facility goes, it's almost complete now. The IT team that has been doing such an amazing job will be there again tomorrow. They were able to get a hold of some nicer monitors for all the cubbies, so they'll be coming over tomorrow and adding all really nice monitors in. The EZO board window coverings have been installed, so it's no longer a fishbowl. It's looking very nice. Ms. Brinson was there again today, directing where things need to go. And I do want to point out there have been some rumors going around about we're not taking special ed students. Those are false. We have one of our 2 full-time teachers is a special ed teacher, and she has currently 7 special ed students of the 29 that are enrolled there. So about 25% of our students have an IEP in some fashion. So we're making progress, and it's been interesting for our teachers, a learning curve going from teaching in a classroom to teaching online, getting emails at 1 o'clock in the morning because kids are up working on their curriculum at 1 o'clock in the morning. And our teachers and our counselors have been doing yeoman's work. They're still open right now. If you went over there right now, you'd see our elementary independent study teacher and our counselor both there for the evening till 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll tag team on his. The special ed piece of it has been going really well. We've been doing coordinated meetings between school sites and Oak Bridge, and it really has provided opportunities for students that have challenges access in the classroom, anxiety and those types of things. So that's been really good. For us, the August 14th for special ed, we made a concerted effort to have all of those teachers participate with general ed because our goal this year is to really focus on that transition and that less restrictive environment of getting kids into the general ed classroom more. And that message has been given out to all of our staff at this point, is that we're looking at taking down silos, looking at the whole continuum and getting kids what they need. So really looking at the needs of the student and what classes they need, rather than saying, you're this type of student, so you're going to get all this. So that's been the focus, and that's why we're including them with general ed, especially in the Google Classrooms training. We did have a couple additional trainings. We had a 504 training. The 504 training was for all the counselors. Yes. And going over processes, going over new forms that were just vetted, and making sure that they knew their role in working with those students, because it is becoming a very hot item. It's becoming as contested legally as IEPs are. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve on that. During the summer, we had ESY, Extended School Year. We had very good attendance in that. That was from preschool all the way through the adult program. That went on without a hitch. Dana Feingold was the first time we were doing administration over that, and it went really well. She had a good experience with that. We had new teacher trainings over the summer. On the new teacher trainings, we had a really good training out. We got them ready for all the legal compliance and all the materials they're going to be using. Also, over the summer and into this first month of school, we got curriculum. I mean, I've got to thank all the district, everyone from Kelly on down. We've been able to get curriculum in math and English for all of our SDC classrooms, for all of our RSP classes at the elementary, and then SDC classes at the secondary level, a more full range because they teach every subject. They have been piecing together, I as a teacher pieced together my curriculum over time, all the time, was always remaking every year because there wasn't really curriculums. Now there are curriculums, so we're getting them those curriculums they need. Some of them are fully aligned to Common Core. Some of them, because the student needs, are not necessarily aligned at the Common Core, but they're aligned at the alternative Common Core level. So everything's becoming more and more aligned, which I'm really excited about. It's been one of my goals since I came into this district, is let's think about the students at the end, not right now. Here's where they are. What do we want at the end for each of our students? We have co-teaching continuing on a small basis as an option. Bidwell Junior High in particular is really taking off with it. They have, I think, 4 co-teaching classes in it. Yeah, I think it's 4 now. And so it's secondary level is where most of the co-teaching, every school has at least one. So at the secondary level. I already talked about the curriculum. Oh, and then the most exciting news, and it's the one you've been hurrying over time, is the comprehensive review for special education. We are at about 100% right now. There were 3 IEPs, there's a checkbox that they missed. So they're going to pull another 20, make sure all the checkboxes are checked. Believe me, emails are going out. Make sure you check every checkbox. And we've already gotten compliments from CDE, from what they call the Federal Monitoring Technical Assistance people, from our new SELPA director, because this never happens this quickly through the process. So the people out there, the special ed people in the classrooms, it really is them. And Kelly keeps saying it's our team. No, we just put all the paperwork together. They did it, and they did an amazing job, and I'm so proud of them. So that's what we have.
Okay, so you had some interesting parent-child issues, right?
Oh, we always do.
Language, no, in terms of language, and I just think that people don't realize how diverse our community could be. They needed a Russian translation.
Yep.
My Russian is very rusty.
And thank you, Kathy. She came through and found us a match with the International Students Program. And so we've got someone from there that can do a little bit of ongoing. And then I found from a neighboring district some that can help with some of the quick little bits that we just need to get us started. So, yeah.
But it's just the breadth of what you guys were dealing with that first day.
Yeah.
That was so impressive.
Yeah.
So if Shawnees can wear a motto that says constructing kindness, I think yours should be kicking down silos. I like that.
There you go. Thank you. Yes, that's a good idea.
All right, so a big part of planning for new school year is reflecting on the past year's performance levels. We kicked that off really in late May and June, and got smarter balance data in front of district leadership and site leadership. We were able to leverage the ability to get that data into our system so we could disaggregate really early this year. So June was essentially, from a reflection standpoint at our sites and for our district, was heavy with looking at smarter balance, English and math, and with a particular focus outside the academic realm, looking at attendance and discipline data as well. And you heard that through the LCAP process in June. And so that was really the beginning of the reflection process. Principals were asked to evaluate their progress towards LCAP goals much earlier last year than previous years, which is effective because it allows them more time to plan. The reflection continued through up till right now. The administrators' advance that we had in early August was largely centered around reflection on how are our kids doing, principals and admin staff identifying areas of strength, areas of need, and considering how that might change programs, how that might change approaches from the site level. Moving from there informally, teachers got access to that data. What happens when you give any group of educators data is they start digging on their own. So DLC members were digging in and looking back at the 17-18 school year. Currently, I'm kind of doing my tour of the secondary departments. And so this morning I was with Marsh Math. And so what I'm doing, and others help, is visiting departments, walking them through their data, disaggregating by course. We disaggregate by sex, by you name it. We slice and dice every which way, and teach them how to do it on their own, because they know the context, they know the kids, and they're going to be the ones making the decisions in the classroom to change or not their practices. So that will continue for a few more weeks. One thing I would like to say, reflecting on the administrative advance in particular, is we had everybody engaged in looking at that data, and we were focused on academic data, superintendent, directors, big topic of conversation, lots of areas of celebration. Of course, there's a few areas of concern that people are addressing, but I'm happy with the way that our administrators, our site administrators, approach that early and consider it very deeply.
I'd like to make one comment about something that was in one of our reviews that I thought was just a really strong upgrade in an area where I know we've had some concern from staff, and that's the scheduling of assessment dates so that the teachers can go online and see what the scheduling for assessments and stuff is so that they can plan around it, and that as a result of that, the actual assessment times have been reduced. And I just wanted to give a yahoo to the people responsible for getting that.
Yeah, that's the work of DLC, both elementary and secondary.
Okay, so that looks like that gives us our information only, and thank you very much for that. We now move to item 10.2.1. Julie's going to be with us for a little while here.
Hello. So tonight, we bring to you our, seems like monthly, Charter Facilities, Measure K Facilities Committee recommendations to the board for projects for charter schools utilizing their portion of the Measure K funds. I have to apologize on the cover sheet where there's the table with the projects outlined. There is one missing. It is in the backup material, but it should be Project N, as in Nancy, for Inspire below the student support offices. It should say Project N, 36 new computers. So the committee has been busy, as you can see, and we're bringing these projects forward tonight for your approval. We've also provided an updated spreadsheet that shows what you have approved in the past. One thing to mention, we are spending less than you have approved on a lot of these projects. So we're going to come up with a way of accounting for that and showing you the actual amounts that are being spent. As the purchase orders are being put through Chico Unified's purchasing department, we've been given some significant discounts on the purchases. So the amounts that were originally approved, we're actually spending less on some of them. So we're going to come up with a way of showing you that. So the projects that I bring forth tonight, the first one is from Core Butte, and it is to bring on ARC Alternatives. That's Russell Driver, the same gentleman who helped us with our solar feasibility studies and also helped us develop our RFQ for the firms and evaluate those proposals in order to make the best informed decision. And they're going to do the same thing for Core Butte. And the second project for Core Butte is to buy some furnishings and equipment for the gymnasium, for their athletics program. Yes.
So I got a little confused when I was looking at the Core Butte one, because they gave the Cohasset address, but then they referenced the Notre Dame address. So the solar is going to be at the Notre Dame address. That's what it says, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that where their high school area is?
Okay.
Yes, eventually our high school will be over there, but that is our home gymnasium. So our home gymnasium is at the Notre Dame campus as well as our home soccer field.
Oh, okay, so what's at Cohasset?
Our administrative offices, and it's our current high school campus.
So you haven't moved anything yet?
Our home gym has been at the Notre Dame Center for over a year.
Oh, okay.
And our home fields.
Okay.
Our students aren't located at our high school.
Okay, because I was a little confused about, we'd put up the solar site, but I wasn't what were you going to be powering with the solar? So, okay, good, thank you.
While you're still there, then, as far as the core property goes, is that leased property, or do you actually own that property?
Great question. A portion of it is leased and a portion of it we do own. So it's a mix of both.
These projects, would they be going on the leased property or the property you own?
A portion of them will be on the
Okay.
lease and a portion will be on owned. That's why we went with the, working with ARC to do the clip system for our roof that we have there so that they can be removed if and when we need to go back to the roof.
Okay, the next project in the list is for Inspire High School, and they were able to replace several of their heating and air conditioning units with their Prop 39 funds, however, not all of them, so they're hoping to replace the remaining units. And the future plan for Inspire High School, no matter when that occurs, those portable classroom buildings will go with them, so they will be very useful to have new units on them in the meanwhile. The next project for Inspire is a new phone system, and then student support offices. As you know, they wanted to have additional space on the campus to plop down a couple more relocatable classroom buildings for student support spaces. And since that wasn't able to happen, they need to renovate a classroom in order to provide the services that those students need and the privacy that they need as well to meet with students and counseling and those sort of things. And then after that would be the 36 new computers. Since they have vacated J226 over at Chico High School and they were utilizing those computers, they need computers to use for those services to students. And the last one is new tables and chairs for 3 classrooms. So those are the projects we bring forward tonight. If you have any questions, I'll take them, and we have the schools here to help. Yes?
Oh, okay. So, yep. Ms. Kissel, so I just had a question, and maybe I'm missing something somewhere, but I noticed that some of these projects have bids attached to them and scopes of work, and others don't. And so I know the Measure K committee does a lot of work and digs into that, and then it's reviewed by Mr. Weisenborn. But I guess, for instance, one of them is, the renovation of the portable to make those additional rooms at Inspire. I think I saw in here that was kind of a $30,000 allocation for that.
Yes,
That
it's
seems high, but
it's a
I mean,
not to exceed amount.
okay.
And they have started to gather some pricing from construction company that would be able to do the work.
Great.
But they do need to buy equipment and
Mhm.
furnishings for it as well. So it's not just construction.
Right.
And they don't have hard bids for all of it. So tonight you'd be authorizing a maximum of that dollar amount, and it
Great.
would likely be less.
Right, and I'm comfortable with that. It's just, I guess looking forward, when we get down and there's not too much money left for the allocations, then I would be a little more concerned about saying, oh, yeah, just go ahead because you can come back, your bid's too low. And so, very good. I'm totally fine with that. Thank you for the clarification.
On the new HVAC units, having spent a lot of time in the classroom with the air conditioning on and having that difficult to hear, are these units somehow or other purchased so that noise abatement is taken care of?
I think that's a yes answer. I know for the Prop 39 replacements that were done, we helped to develop the bid documents for that project. Our department did, and we specified that the replacement units should be quiet as you could buy for a portable classroom. And I assume they would continue? Yes, same units. So they'd be substantially quieter than the units that are on the portables now.
That'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
So the transition of the phone system was extremely complex. And so my question is, and hopefully we never deal with this as a reality, but if we were to have a code red that took place on Chico High, but Inspire has their own phone system, how quickly or how confident are we that they will have that information dispensed, at the same speed or as close to that as possible? A safety issue.
Good question. And I don't know the answer to that, so maybe Doris knows. You want to come up?
I just think it was a very complicated layout of what would happen to make that transition to an independent phone system. But I didn't see that safety question addressed. So perhaps, you can raise it with the contractor and make sure not just your people, but our people, are really thinking ahead on that one, okay? Because you're touching each other, basically, and we want the phone system to work.
Will do. Good point.
Are we ready to move forward on this?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Measure K projects for the charter schools, and that is item number 10.2.1.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We now move to item 10.2.2.
Thank you. We're asking the board tonight to approve the placement of 2 relocatable classroom buildings onto the Hooker Oak campus. Hooker Oak has been a very popular program. They currently have a wait list for new students and a lack of space for them. As you may remember, we had 2 portables on this campus before that were removed maybe 5 years ago and taken over to Pleasant Valley High School. So the utilities are already in place and the foundations are already in place for that work to occur. We have, currently we have 3 portables at the corporation yard that can be placed on the site. They do need to be spruced up inside. They need to be cleaned up and painted and new floors. But tonight we were asking you to approve a contract with Alan Chambers of Eagle Architects so that he could draft the plans, and then we can get a valid estimate of the project all the way through submittal and approval and review by the Division of the State Architect.
Julie, what grades are you intending to use these for? Where's the pressure point?
I'll have Joanne answer that one.
We wanted to put a TK there, but that TK went to Parkview. It looks like we're probably adding a preschool next year, so I don't know, Ted probably needs to be here. That might end up at Parkview, a TK there.
He's sneaking behind you.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, we just looked at a lot of different configurations about where we could add students. They've got a lot of room in intermediate, but very little room in primary. So you can't put, a lot of parents asked to go there, but they can bring their 4th grader or their 5th grader, but not their 2nd grader. So it'll have to just depend on what the families that we get and what we can fit in.
Like Julie said, they've had a waiting list off and on for a while, and it's a very amenable choice when we have to overflow students or students are looking for someplace else to go. It's been a pretty universally accepted kind of place that we offer that to them also. So we can make ends meet right now, but a year from right now, I don't think we can. So I think this is a good option to get it on there, have it available, especially if we're looking to add a preschool and have other space, because Hooker Oak is growing right now too. The program is growing. We've been adding kids a lot.
Well, I've had a long association with Hooker Oak, and, you know, when we were taking portables off, I mean, part of that was because we didn't have things really constructed for kindergarten style classrooms, the bathrooms, so I certainly hope that when you're, besides just painting, if there's a way to think about making it a more appropriate, you know, physical asset for those younger kids, I think that's really important.
Ms. Kissel, I have a question also. I noticed here on our lead sheet that it will be funded out of developer fees, but we don't really have kind of a budget amount. I was
Right.
encouraged that we already have the infrastructure there, but do you have a general idea what this will cost? And do we have money in the budget set aside for that, or in the developer fees?
We do have the developer fees available for the project. I would estimate about 200,000 to 25
Total?
for the overall project.
Okay.
Once we fully investigate and have the plans drawn up, I will come back to you for approval of the overall project, so you will know at that time the cost and be able to approve that at the time.
Thank you.
I'll come back.
Thank you. I think you guys have kind of answered my question, but this is a project that's going to happen this year, looking for actually putting kids in these programs next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to have the portables placed on the campus before the spring semester. Depends on how long it takes us to get through the state architect's office, but we would hope that we would have them for half of this year. If we don't make that, they would be available for next fall.
whoops, with preschool, that's a good option if you can get a program started even in the middle of the year. With the other grade
Well, we
levels.
wouldn't have the funding because the funding opens up.
Waits the cycle of it.
I'm sorry,
So we're applying for a grant.
yeah,
That is due in December, and then we won't really find out. So really, the preschool can't open up until.
Okay.
What, August?
It worked, yeah.
got it.
So where do we want to move on this?
I move that we approve item 10.2.2.
Okay, motion's been made in second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? See none. Any other discussion from the board members? I see none. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 10.2.3.
Thank you. Previously, the board approved a project at Nord Country School to expand their multi-purpose building and to construct a large shade structure for outdoor dining. Rainforest Grau and Associates is the architect on the project, and they are ready to move ahead with pre-construction services, and the time came to select a construction company to serve as the lease-back entity for the project. So an RFQ was sent out, several responses were received, interviews were held that included Mike Weisenborn, the charter school facilities mentor, and 2 board members, and the principal and the CBO for the school. And interviews were held at the Corporation Yard between the 4 different firms. And as you can see in your lead sheet documentation, it was scored according to the board-approved scoring methods for lease-back selection. And United Building Contractors scored the highest, and tonight we're recommending that the board approve United Building Contractors as a lease-back entity to perform pre-construction services on the Nord Country School MPR expansion and shade structure.
Go.
So I've actually been out of the game a while, but it seemed to me, I recalled that there was a little bit of difference with charter schools and lease-back regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Has that
You're
been
correct.
reviewed, or-
However, this is Measure K money. So Chico Unified is purchasing,
Excellent.
constructing.
Excellent.
It goes through us, and we are,
Perfect.
and it's a really good opportunity for the charters to be able to
Yes.
use lease-back.
Yes.
Especially when it's used as a real lease-back with financed portion. It gives a little flexibility to the charters that they wouldn't have otherwise. So
Excellent.
it's a benefit.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Julie, I know when I was participating in these contractor ratings and interviews, one of the things that was addressed was capacity. I know that UBC is really busy along with everybody else, and the group felt comfortable that they could handle this project in addition to the rest of the things they're involved in.
Yes, and you're right that they are very busy. They're very busy working for us right
Yeah,
now.
I know.
However, this is pre-construction services, so this is meeting with the design team, offering suggestions and ideas for constructability, materials, cost savings ideas. So it's more at an administrative level, construction manager sort of level of activity at this point, and the project is about a year away. So we did take that into account with the selection of UBC, and frankly, all of the firms were very busy as well. So we're all in the same boat. Yes.
Thank you.
We had the water project that we had to do, and the state was going to pay us back.
The well.
The well, and how is that going?
It's still ongoing.
Oh.
It's a very, very slow process. The design of the new well was just submitted to the State Water Authority week before last. So we're waiting to hear back from them at this point. In that, the design is a new location, a new depth, a new casing, horsepower, a new well pump, upgrade in the power to run that pump because the well is going to be significantly deeper than the existing well in order to get out of the nitrate level of water. But it's moving along, and the school students are drinking water that goes through a reverse osmosis system at every point of use on campus where a student can drink water. There's a reverse osmosis system, and they're checked daily. They're logging the information about those units to make sure that they're working properly.
I think that's really significant, and the state is pushing for a approach to water table and use, and the county has an option of presenting their own plan, and they're asking for a well user to be on that review, and I think we might find ourselves in that position, because this certainly is, I mean, it's more significant than one family. It affects the whole community, and I think that would be something that we're getting, unfortunately, a tremendous amount of experience. So, thank you.
Thanks for asking about that, Dr. Kaiser. It's on my mind.
Okay, I think we're ready to move forward on this item also.
Okay, I move item 10.2.3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 10.2.4.
As promised, with the Neil Doubt project, we are moving slowly in order to make sure that our pricing for our construction stays within our budget, and trying to pick the sweet spot for bidding time in the overall bidding climate, with everything being so busy in a construction over this late spring and summertime. So we did put out the concrete portion of Neil Dow for bid, with BCM being our general contractor. And they were able to get bids in that brought them in below our third-party estimators' pricing for the concrete. And when I'm talking about this, this is the foundations for the 3 buildings. So the 2 classroom buildings that have 3 classrooms each and a restroom, and the new multi-purpose building. And the pricing came in at $1,229,688. So tonight, we would like to have you approve that we move forward with those foundations, and we'll try to keep the construction process moving smoothly on the site, so they're making progress throughout the fall. And then we're looking at bidding the remainder of the project in mid-October. So we'll be bringing back to you the pricing for that once that's bid.
I'm going to recuse myself because my son is a project supervisor for BCM.
Okay, I move that we approve moving forward with item 10.2.4.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other discussion from the board members? I see none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 and 1 abstain. Next item is 10.2.5, right? Correct.
Also, as promised, we come back to you about an exciting project, Phase 4 Master Plan project that we're working on with DLR Group at Emma Wilson Elementary School. You may recall that DLR Group was here giving a presentation of what they heard from the school site, parents and kindergarten teachers and the principal. At that time, you gave us direction to go back and meet with them again and make sure that We talked about all of the design implements for the project, which we have. We've met with them. First of all, DLR Group worked over the summer, and we met with the school site twice since then. And tonight we have Mary Rupenthal here, and she's going to walk through briefly the design as it stands now. And Kim is here tonight as well, a principal from Emma Wilson. Yes.
Can I register a protest that my 5-year-old's not going to get to do this?
Do you want the PowerPoint or the
PowerPoint would be great.
this one? Okay, so this is really informal, so if you have any questions, just shout it out, okay? So this is Mary from DLR Group.
Thank you, Julie. Sure. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here meeting with you, and thank you for the time today to allow us to share where we've progressed so far. As a team, we've been a really good team over the summer, meeting and refining the design that's now in design development. So as kind of a reminder of the overall scope of work, starting at the north side, which is the top of this plan, we have the new kindergarten building as well as the student entry plaza. In the center of the campus, we have some courtyard rework to regrade and flatten and make that space more usable for the site. Down at the south end, we have the new lunch canopy to cover that outdoor dining area. And then, of course, we have the relocation of the portable to the rear of the site. Going into more detail of the kindergarten playground that is created within that new kindergarten building and between the existing, on the right-hand side is the new classroom building. And we've really started refining these components, and the goal is to create a really engaging kindergarten play area with a variety of motor skills. And our inspiration is both the original Emma Wilson art teacher to create kind of a real exploratory environment, as well as the school mascot, which is the ram. So taking some cues from that, we really wanted to, and what we heard from the users as well, is to create kind of an environment that incorporates natural objects, so tree trunks to sit on, in this kind of play area that is surrounded by a tricycle track. We have log crawl tunnels, log steppers, climbing boulders, kind of keeping with that natural kind of experience of student engagement. And we have swings, the play structure, which is shaded, of course, and we're looking at kind of a climbing structure right now, and we're going to provide a couple of options just to provide, we know how important a variety of motor skills are to students of this age. And then at the west of the site, up at the top of the page, we have what we're calling Collaboration Grove. It's kind of a quiet seating area. Maybe it's for classes to gather. There's logs or boulders for seating, and to the north of that, which is to the right, we have the kind of a garden, and that's kind of a no-play zone where teachers might be able to bring students and have some quiet sort of garden teaching experience.
One of the things that was really important to the teachers is to have an area that's big enough for all of the kindergarten, because they will have 5 classes full of kinder. So the playground design has lots of different activity areas that may be of interest to different kids, but it's really spread out so that they're not all bunched into one area. So lots of opportunities for play that they'd be interested in spread out area.
Right now, the TKs and the kindergartens are kind of facing each other, and they get released at slightly different times. So are we still going to have the TK classes, and will they also be used in that same area to play, or will they be separate?
It's all together.
And what we also heard is, maintaining landscape is difficult. It's also costly. So, our surfaces are decomposed granite, which is a very durable, maintenance-free material, as well as we're using either bark or engineered wood fiber throughout. And then what's not shown here, but will be included, is this up at the top. There's a gate that will allow students to play in that outdoor grassy area if they want that kind of grassy area access. So the evolution kind of the student entry plaza, I think the last time you saw it, it had a variety of colors, and what we kind of heard from the users was, number one, a preference, and Julie, we can always rely on her to do the durability test on materials. When we started getting materials of what that colored material was, it was meant to be, it's a 3-form plastic material that's very durable, but at that height, we applied the scratch test and felt that it wasn't really the appropriate material. So this vertical face that you see, kind of a coppery material along that entry wall, is now been refined into a more durable perforated metal panel, which will both allow sunlight through, but create somewhat of a visual barrier as well. And it's also a little bit more neutral. And one of the beautiful things about it is we're still kind of designing it, but the idea is it would have a pattern that the students can experience discovery in through interpreting what it is, even amongst ourselves. There's this little blowout on the lower right hand of the pattern that's been kind of developed. It's kind of open to interpretation. It's sort of like looking at clouds and you see different shapes in it. Maybe from day to day you might experience something different. For the students to look at it, and some people in our office thought it looked like stars in the sky. Some people thought it looked like plants growing. Other person thought it was like fire, like a bonfire. So that spirit of discovery. We know how important this first milestone of teaching is. With kindergarten students, the first experience on campus, really want to keep that design intent of art and discovery, and really provide an engaging environment. So the canopy itself on the top, we've maintained some colors, but what we heard is that the preference was for more of the school colors, more of the blues, more of a neutral palette. And then, of course, part of it, you'll see in future graphics, part of it is it's all covered to protect against weather and provide shade, but there is a portion that will allow colored filtered light coming through the top.
Right now, it's yellow caution tape.
So this will be a vast
first experience.
This will be a vast improvement. So this is a view from the inside where you can see the covered overhead, and that will be acoustical, pre-finished white metal deck. We know these areas can be loud with a lot of students, so making sure it's acoustically treated so that it's a pleasant environment to be in. There's an area of it that has the colored panel that will allow filtered sunlight through, and then kind of looking through that perforated panel. And the color of that panel we're imagining right now is maybe a copper to kind of align with the materiality that's currently on the site.
So is this weatherproof? It looks like maybe only a portion of it is weatherproof for inclement weather dining out there, or?
It's all covered right now. The portion that's blue is actually, it's still the 3-form material. That is a very durable material. It's not exposed to reach or vandalism, so it will provide protection from the elements sitting under it. That portion that's blue is still covered, and then outboard of it, where you see kind of the white metal decking, that's covered as well. So it's covered from shade, or it's covered for shade and also for weather. Moving into the classroom development of materials and material selections, basically our concept is to provide a little bit of, add some color, one kind of accent color per classroom. of the 3 classrooms, and we're starting to, really refine what the materials are. The 2/3 of the flooring is going to be carpet, the same carpet that was recently installed in the other kindergarten classrooms to provide, parity and equity. We know that's a tried and true material. And then a portion of the classroom floor, so in plan you can see that darker color is the carpeting. It's carpet tiles, very durable but easy to replace in the future for maintenance. There's an L of linoleum that includes the area where the sinks are. The teaching wall itself, we've developed with really great user input on, the smart TV height being low enough for students, having some cubbies, open cubbies, a combination of storage behind these sliding marker board walls to allow it to be flexible and open or closed for teaching. So it really allows for a variety of kind of teaching modes. Those whiteboards can also be slid over the TV if the central teaching theme wants to be more marker board oriented rather than smart board. So flexibility is really key, and we're doing our daylighting analysis right now. Those high northern windows on the high end of the room are bringing in excellent daylighting. We are running it against the CHIPS daylighting analysis to make sure it is excellent daylighting, and we have adequate shading on the south side of the rooms. Moving into the main courtyard site work, we originally, were basically the goal of this scope is to regrade it so that it's more usable for the site, as well as to create a path across that main access, traversing from the admin building across to Building 600. As we started to look at it, we're looking at reducing costs by keeping a lot of the trees that are there, and basically keeping the height where they are. You can't drop a tree, so at those existing trees, the ground will kind of grade away from the tree, roughly the area of the canopy. And then we wanted to kind of more, really create an environment an amenity that would benefit the school, rather than just a small path. We know that stage that's kind of at the bottom, that big rectangular square, is used for events for the campus right now. So by expanding the flat work, it really starts to create a place rather than just a path across the campus. So we really want to maximize the positive impact with minimum finance. So we feel like this is a very economical solution to not only provide that path, but create a new place for the campus, one that we know that they really need. So there's a combination of DG kind of along the edges to create still kind of an organic expansion of that space, but we really feel that this will be a really great amenity for the campus at very little cost, and keeping the trees as much as we can. At the far end of the campus is the new lunch canopy, which we're looking at again to reduce costs. It would be a PC shade structure rather than purely custom, which really helps us. It'll help efficiency going through DSA as well. But this is a pre-manufactured shade structure that has a benefit. Our goal was to minimize the impact of the footings around the existing dining area. So the columns are in the center. Again, that's reducing cost and other negative impact. So right now, the only kind of drawback is a limitation in size. So there's a portion on in that little diagram on the upper left that shows where some of it won't be shaded, but we're going to plant some trees on that north side. The north side is the side that's going to be less heat gain, and so it will be shaded with trees. And it'll have the benefit of having some seating that isn't shaded. So some children like to sit in the direct sunlight. And going back to the kindergarten play area, this is just another view showing Those animated rams are placeholders for equipment that is going to be, a ram kind of rocker. We're still trying to identify the equipment, but you can see kind of the variety of mobility, some climbing boulders, different kind of stepping equipment, and kind of natural forms. So this is a view looking towards the student plaza. And that's it. Any questions?
We're working on it. We're working on it.
I'll tell him that and send him to your house.
So that's just a real good visual update of where we're at and what we're working on. And we're just asking your permission tonight to continue that. If you have any direction otherwise, please let us know tonight so we can make changes. But Ms. Rogers is here from the school to answer any questions about the staff input.
Right, that's actually the question I had.
Okay.
Have this updated design been vetted with staff, and how do they feel about it?
Actually, they played a very big role. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of different ideas. The teachers are ones that are in the classrooms doing the job. They know what is working in their current classrooms and different things that they wish that they had. And so it was interesting, the process, just listening, So our leaders here were very good at listening to their ideas, and they came back a couple of different times with, pictures and whatnot to put their interests in the classroom. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good process.
Good.
We, each of us have different tastes, but
yeah, that's the trick that the designers have to.
Yeah, well,
put all
even
that
even
together.
within the group, even within the
Exactly.
teachers and me and all that, I kind of had to just go. Sometimes when I go, no, but I'm not in that room.
Exactly.
I'm not in that room, and they've been teaching kindergarten for a long time, some of them. So, anyway.
Well, I think it looks wonderful, and so I'm going to move that we go forward with this.
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second 10.2.5 then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion, Eileen?
Not so much a discussion as a compliment. When this came to us last time, I had some startled concern over where you were, and it has evolved to the positive side. So much appreciate your work, Kim, in pulling the staff together and pulling your planning people together. It looks much better.
I did have one other question for Ms. Kissel. So this updated design is still within our budget parameters that we have
Yes,
looked
it
at?
is.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, and I do have a question also. We talked about staff looking at this. What about the community? Have we had community meetings at this?
I'm glad you asked that. Tomorrow we have back to school night at Emma Wilson, and I will be there with photos on placards to talk to parents and get input from them and explain where we've been and what we're looking at doing and answer questions. So we're getting it out there.
Okay, and then I think the last time we had a presentation was that was in the spring, late spring, when we had, I would say that the canopy was very vibrant on the last one. But as far as what I hear you saying is that the material was not something that would hold up or was durable.
Right, the vertical face of the front entryway, that was lower.
Right.
We had the same material as the covering over the lunch area, the shade and rain structure. And we did the scratch test on it, and we didn't think that was durable enough for that installation. So that's why we changed to the perforated metal. But we left the colorful plastic on the top so that the light will shine through.
So Julie, we have back to school tomorrow at 6, and I had anticipated that meant going to the classroom. So how are you going to, because they aren't together, how are you going to get these parents to know they should come talk to you or look at you?
I'm going to be outside at a table that Kim's setting up for me.
Oh, okay.
So they can come if they're interested, and we'll have big color boards that will probably attract some attention.
Okay. All right.
Okay, very well. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the audience on this issue? I see none, and the board, I believe, is finished. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, we need a roll call, because last one was.
Oh, right, because
Oh, Griffin, aye.
Hovey, aye.
Lustal, aye.
Kaiser, aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. We now move. Yes, thank you so much. I hope you don't have a long drive home. Sacramento. Okay, that's not as bad as the Bay.
Drive very far to be here.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for your time.
Item number 10.3.1, Mr. Hanlon.
Okay, so all four of my items are pretty straightforward. This first one is a reduction of 6 positions. They're all classified. I believe the question was put forward by one of you. Are they vacated? They are at this point, and we have had conversations with the union. So these are things I bring to you periodically, and at this point, there's parts of 6 positions, and it's based on the work available and the needs at the specific sites.
Okay. I move we approve item 10.3.1.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 10.3.2.
Okay, same thing on this one, although these are not CSEA positions. These are parent-restricted aides, so they're not, they're from a non-represented group, and they're portions of 3 positions, and again, it's based on the need at the specific sites.
And they are vacant?
And they are vacant.
Okay, I move that we pass item 10.3.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We now move to 10.3.3.
Okay, and then these that we bring to you each year. The first one is we have some secondary teachers that are teaching out of their credentialed area, but the education code allows that if they've completed a certain number of units. I believe it's 18 semester credits or 9 upper division, and all 6 of these teachers have done that. They have agreed to do that, which is also part of the ed code. So we're asking for approval, annual approval for this year, so these teachers can teach these classes.
Okay, I move approval of item 10.3.3.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the audience? Seeing none from the audience, from the board?
Thank you. Jim, you said 6. I only count 5.
I'm sorry, you're right. It's 5. 4 at PV and 1 at Chico High School.
Okay.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Jim, I have a question. So a lot of these, they come up each year on this, and I know we're allowed to do this, but as far as, you know, having fully credentialed teachers in an area, do we have a plan going forward, or is this just acceptable?
These are exceptional areas. For example, we have a social science teacher that is in 1 class of PE. We have a special ed teacher who has a degree in history but doesn't have the credential, but has a credential in PE, and so it's exceptional areas like that. So they just, this keeps that particular person from having gone back to school to student teach in social science, even though he has a bachelor's degree in the area, because he has a credential in another area. So this is ways that the education code allows us to fill these positions without added costs for the individuals.
So I understand that, and from what I hear you're saying is, you know, with a district this large, we're going to end up having positions like this. I mean, because our board policy is to have fully credentialed teachers in the subject area of what they teach. But we can't go 100%, is what you're saying.
Technically, when we do a report to the state, as long as you approve this, they're fully credentialed. It's just that it has to be brought to the board every year and it has to be approved. So they meet the requirements of the law, but only on a year-to-year basis, as long as the board is aware of them.
All right, I understand better. All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. No other discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, Jim, do you have one more, I think?
One more. So this one is just going to keep coming back for a number of years. When we moved the sixth graders to the middle school, the junior highs, I guess, they all have multiple subject credentials. And once again, we have to bring that to the board every year so that they can teach individual courses. So in a middle school concept, they're going to be teaching English and social science, or math and science, or some kind of a split like that, in order to fit into the 6-period day. So we can do that again, but of course it takes board approval each year for those teachers that have multiple subject credentials. So you asked about a plan moving forward. When we're hiring, as people resign or retire, we're hiring single subject credentials to work in the middle schools. But we moved our own people over there, and until they leave us or retire, we'll be bringing their names to the board each year.
Okay, I move that we approve item 10.3.4.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other board discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Superintendent Staley, 10.4.1.
Yes, at their board workshop, the board reviewed the board governance handbook, and now would be a time to bring forward any changes if the board would like to make changes to the board governance handbook. If not, it can be adopted as it currently stands, and we'll revise it.
Okay. What do we have? Any changes?
Nope. I didn't have any. Nope, I didn't either. I move that we approve the governance handbook as it currently exists.
Okay, motion's been made in second. Any discussion from the audience? I see none. Any other discussion from the board members? Any comment? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Items from the floor. Any items that were not brought up or somebody wants to speak on that was not on the agenda? I see none. Announcements. Yes?
I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Ted Sullivan for accepting an invitation to come and address the Greater Chico Area Homeless Task Force on the impact of homelessness and poverty on students in Chico Unified. Did a tremendous job in showing how our social workers, our targeted case managers, and our elementary school counselors, which the board has singled out and supported through our LCAP, and the impact that those programs are making on our students. And I won't go through the numbers, but the report from the county on the numbers in the county are just staggering. It's just staggering. But Ted, I appreciate your time and coming to the group. They much appreciated seeing the program that Chico Unified has implemented to help support. And also thank you to our transportation folks who've worked out picking up the students from the tourist shelter and getting them in the transportation mix to their schools. It's the first year we've been able to pull that off, and we have so many little ones that we're trying to keep them in the school where they were when they became homeless. It's much more significant as far as stability for the student, and so I appreciate the work that Chris Wrinkle and Transportation have done in making that happen.
Very good. Any others? It is election season. We have 4 people running for the 3 spots. Mr. Lando's here if he wants to wave and say hello, and we welcome you being here and welcome you into the race. Okay. So on that note, meeting adjourned.